And the lady was honestly very rude about it. So
yeah, she was.
Makes you even less likely wanting to help them out. So we are heading out onto our next adventure, and we kind of filled you in a little bit about our next destinations, but they've changed just a little bit. All right, so we are here in Fort Lauderdale at the airport, and like we mentioned before, we came here to do a cruise with families, and we're done with that, and we are now headed off onto our next adventure.
Yeah, since we're already on the East Coast, it's going to be really easy to get to Gatwick in London, and then just hop right over to Krakow and Poland, and no problem. 2-hour layover, super easy. We'll get into Krakow about 3 o'clock.
Didn't work out that way.
No.
So when we got off the cruise, we found out that our flight from Gatwick to Krakow has now been canceled. So we have had to rebook another flight, which now has us doing another 9-hour layover at Gatwick.
Which brings up an opportunity.
Yes, a lounge opportunity. So we do enjoy the lounges, so we're gonna check one out there, but we are all checked in and we are ready for our flight. It's kind of a mess here today because there's a storm moving through, so there's a lot of canceled and delayed flights.
Okay, we made it into Gatwick. 8-hour flight. Wasn't so bad. Now we flew Norse Air, and they don't give you anything. You don't get water. You don't get any treats. None of that.
No beer.
No beer.
We knew that going in.
We knew that going in. It was fine. They got us here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we got here. It was pretty easy flight. But yeah, it is definitely a discount airline. So if you want the discount, it's worth it. If you like the luxuries, it's not.
It's not worth it.
Yeah.
Right.
So we are here. One of the things that we would point out is the form that is going to be coming into place in the future. It was supposed to be into effect by now, but it's been delayed. The ETIAS form that you need to fill out prior to coming into Europe is now delayed into 2024. So you don't have to fill that out yet.
Well, it's probably about the third time they have delayed that whole thing. So who knows when it's actually going to happen. But I do know what's going to happen right now is we're going to go find a lounge.
Yes, we need a lounge, we need some food, and a beer. So now, one of the things people may wonder is why we choose the flights that we choose. And one thing that you're gonna find when we're budget traveling is the key thing is to fly yourself into a hub airport in the area that you're gonna be going. So for us, that was into London. That is typically a hub airport. There are other airports here you can pick. And then from there, you hop around, and then it's a lot cheaper to hop around after you're actually here.
Yes, it is cheaper. However, our flight got canceled. And that's why we're doing what we're doing now.
Yeah.
So just be aware of that as well. If you just go straight through, you pay a lot more money, but you might get to where you're going. This would be considered a bad travel day for us. This is the ugly side of full-time travel. However,
but also considering the mess that we saw at the airport when we were leaving in Fort Lauderdale, and that was just due to storms, it's just messy right now altogether.
It's just messy right now altogether. Now, the lounge we just came out of was average. It was okay. It was free food, it was free beer, so we're not complaining.
No.
We're just saying.
Yeah, it wasn't compared to the other lounges we've been to. It definitely did not rank high on the list at all. It would not be one we would use one of our free lounge passes for in the future, probably. But it wasn't. It was a place to sit for that wasn't in the airport, so that was okay.
It was better than the half-hour nap I took on the bench at Starbucks here in the airport before we made it to the lounge.
About all the sleep he's got so far.
Yeah.
So one of the other cool things that I did see when I was kind of researching traveling here was that at Heathrow, so not at Gatwick, which is where we are right now, but at Heathrow they are doing a trial run through the security where you won't have to take all of your liquids out of your bag. They're allowing more liquids per container and you get to leave them in your bag. So that is kind of a new thing since 9/11, and so that will be really awesome if that passes through, because that's always one of those things, especially because we're carry-on only, to try and fit everything in. All right, so we made it to Frankfurt Airport. This is our final connection. Thankfully, we made it in time. Our flight was late. We sat on the tarmac for a little while. I felt bad for some of the other people who had a much shorter connection time than we did.
A lot of runners, and if you've never been to Frankfurt Airport, it is long and it's huge.
Yeah.
So if you ever fly through, try and get here as early as you can before your connector.
Right.
Now, it is 9 o'clock at night. We were supposed to be in Krakow at 3 o'clock this afternoon.
Settled into our Airbnb by now, checking out the town. But
so we still have an hour and a half here at the airport and an hour and a half flight, so we'll get in about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right. Another thing I wanted to point out is that we've had this happen a couple of times where you can take your carry-on luggage, but they stop you at the gate and they tell you that the bins are going to be all full because it's a full flight, and they tell you you need to check your luggage. Stand firm. Do not check your luggage. Do not let them take your luggage, because in our case, we would have had to go get our luggage, then go back through customs, and there is no way we would have made our flight.
We wouldn't have made it. So we've been asked to do this 3 or 4 times in the past. Tell them you just can't do it. They'll end up letting you, and there's always room on the plane.
There was plenty of room. Nobody was asked to have their luggage, and the lady was honestly very rude about it. So
yeah, she was.
Makes you even less likely wanting to help them out. So anyway, so we are going to get ready for our final leg, and we are excited to get to Krakow. Okay, so next day, we actually did not get to our Airbnb last night until about 1:30. It's a fantastic place. We will give you kind of a room tour on that on our actual Krakow video.
Right.
But we've made our first stops that you have to make. We did try and get a SIM card at the airport last night, but there is not a SIM place that was open at that time of day. So we've made that stop here in town, and what we paid?
We paid $12.50 to get pretty much unlimited here in Krakow for a week.
Right.
Correct?
And then that will carry us into the EU, because you can kind of move around with them, but then your usage like goes way down of what they give you. So we may have to up it again, but that's fine. $12.50 isn't bad. Got our cash out, which was really nice, and actually it did not on the ATM say that we had to pay anything extra to take the cash out, which was always a bonus.
Yeah, one other thing I'd like to remind you of, if you do decide to get a SIM card when you're in Europe, make sure you bring your passport. Sometimes we have forgotten, and then it's a pain, so you have to start all over again.
Yeah. So final thing is, we mentioned at the very beginning that our plans had kind of changed a little bit. What changed, which I was so super sad about, is we did have to take Austria off of the list this time around, because the time we are traveling is high tourist season and everything was really busy and booked up and expensive.
Yeah, it broke our budget.
It definitely broke the budget. We just could not figure out a way to justify that. So we are going to hit Austria next time we come back, probably next year.
So this travel day was a lot longer than we had anticipated. It was supposed to be really easy.
Made the best of it, though.
It was not. We grinned, we bared it. Join us next week. We will do a full video on Krakow, and we're excited to be here.
Yeah. All right. Cheers.
Cheers.